just let us know. Maybe what we'll do is just only get the audio of you. We'll turn the camera away from the person's face. If you are like on parole or probation, or for some reason don't want people to see your face. So we're hoping. Last week we had about 20 people from the Benchlands show up. It was pretty amazing. And we voted to have this meeting about this specific issue. So we also voted to invite the city politicians to come to hear what people in the Benchlands have to say about their condition. And the reason that vote happened was, and why we had everybody for the Benchlands vote to do this, is because people expressed their what problems they had with the alleged solution. So, for instance, one woman discussed how she went to Overlook, which used to be called Golf Links, which used to be called the camp next to the Armory, and the staff was so abusive that even though she's in a walker and disabled, she walked away from there and moved into the bushes down by the Benchlands. And now that woman, because she's been terrorized by Jeremy Leonard, is moving to the Pogonip. So that, I'm not sure the people in Santa Cruz really want hundreds of people living in the Pogonip, or the doorways downtown, but that's what's going to happen. There's several hundred people are going to end up just living randomly around downtown or in the Benchlands if we do not have some success first in the temporary restraining order and in enforcing them by either refusing to leave or some other means to actually provide real adequate shelter space for people living outside. So that's our goal. So we're not really officially started yet because it's not even 6 o'clock. And did you have something to say, Tom? They're going to starting to clear the Benchlands on Wednesday. Kind of is what they go, wink, wink, nod, nod. It's supposed to be cleared completely by the 1st of September. So you're going to get a lot of people moving here to this parking lot.
Yeah, well.
So vote for the city manager.
That won't happen, The problem here is because of insurance liability, and we're a nonprofit. So if someone is on the property and they cause a problem or hurt someone, we're liable for it. That's why we can't have anybody staying here.
And that's why the Resource Center for Nonviolence should be telling the city mayor and the city manager that this problem, because reality, even those places that are commercial places with liability issues are going to be in trouble. So there needs to be an actual, we've been talking about this since everybody moved to the Benchlands, that there had to be an actual place for people to move to, because it's not really the greatest place for people to be living. And I think we will hear that from people that are going to speak this evening about the logistical problems that occur as a result of living at the Benchlands and then being forced into the streets. Yeah.
So I just wonder if there's going to be part of this presentation or discussion is going to acknowledge that it sounds like an increased level of hostile presence of law enforcement in the Benchlands. I'm reading this business of putting up bombs, getting a ticket, a volunteer getting a ticket in a fairly hostile manner. It's not just, would you please move? Boom! You got a ticket, kind of thing. And so, and ways of strategies. Is there going to be any time to spend on offering strategies for dealing with hostile law enforcement?
Yeah, the first thing will be to have people speak about their experiences. And like Billy, hopefully will come. So Billy just got arrested out of the Benchlands. And what happened with Billy is that he was ordered to move his camp from one side of the drainage ditch from where the tap is to the other side. So he did do that. And then the police, once he got everything set up, the police came in, arrested him, took him away, and then he just drove his belongings and threw him away. And now they tagged his the garbage that they left after they destroyed all his stuff, as being some violation of something. Then they let him out just a few hours ago, and he comes back to see that he's lost all of his belongings. And it's just what was remaining of his camp is a big pile of garbage that now has to be thrown away. So, yes.
Isn't there an ordinance that they have to store your belongings for, I don't know, 3 days or something? Or, I don't know. Isn't there an ordinance?
They have that law, but that law has not yet been
Enforced?
used yet. I mean, randomly it is. Every once in a while, somebody gets their stuff taken. You can go to Washington Street, and you can stand there on, you one time almost got your stuff back, right? After about 12 trips there, trying to catch her. Now, and so what was your experience of that?
Well, I had it taken so many times that if I happened to be in there again, I wasn't going to get it back.
Right.
So that occurred. But then I got some help from the mayor one time, and I got my stuff back, and that was the last time I ever lost it.
Yeah. So yes. Do you have a question?
Be polite to those ladies. They'll be nice to me.
Yeah. A lot of times, sadly, what happens is, like with the case of Billy, he's in jail, everything's thrown in a dump truck, and this is pretty common. I think that's the most common thing. And then what happens? Then you don't have a receipt. You don't. They claim you never had it. So even though there's these laws, it's very rare that the city would follow them.
I mean, everybody should be treated with dignity. That's why I'm proud to be a part of Food Not Bombs. Drew, he treats everybody with dignity.
Yeah.
And everybody should be treated with dignity, whether you own a house or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. 1 second, before I take another question from Randy. So what we're going to end up doing, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to ask people who live in the Benchlands to come up here and speak, and you'll get like a few minutes to talk. And the purpose of doing it from here is so that it goes out on the live feed to the world, so everybody can get an idea of what's happening. The second thing is that we're going to be working on some litigation, temporary restraining order. And one of the helpful things, if you have not already signed up on this, and many of you have, I think about almost everybody I know that lives outside that's here right now has, but some of you might not. And if you can't remember, if you fill this out, fill it out and hand it back to me. I've got, I have 2 of these. I need a second pen to send around. But then, you fill it out and put it on the very bottom of the pile. And we right now have approximately 200 of these filled out already. And it gives us permission to file this temporary restraining order in your behalf. So that's part of what that's about. So then I'm going to introduce the president of the Homeless Union, Alicia Cool, and then I'll probably talk a little bit more while people gather, just for a few minutes, and then we will start the speak out. We're hoping that some politicians will be here shortly to hear your point of view, people who live outside, particularly with a focus of people living in the Benchlands. So I'm going to pass this around for people. I think you have not filled this out. Okay. So
quick announcement here. I'm passing out this thing called Resources for Resistance, which has a petition on the back of it, or many of it does, much of it does. That is to say there's 2 flyers, one of them, they're all pretty much this. This talks about suggestions about forming different networks of support in the event that the courts turn down the injunction if it gets filed, and in the event that there's continued harassment of people. And it suggests that people might want to volunteer to do some of these tasks if they're interested, have the time, have the energy. So I'm just suggesting if you do, print the information on the back. And if you're in the Benchlands and you want to, put where your tent is. There's a kind of a code that says 1 near Water Street Courthouse side, 2 near Water Street River Street side, 3 near the footbridge. So it's a way of, in case the union wants to reach you, or in case you want to reach each other, that's a way to do it. That's it.
Okay, so anyway, Alicia, why don't you talk a little bit about the union and what's going on in,
So my name is Alicia Cool. We have just gathered here this evening. It was a suggestion from the people that gathered last week that we come together and we make our voices heard about specific things that are going on. One is the fact that the city is going to close the Benchlands. 2, the shelter options that are being offered to people. We are opening the mic to talk about what your shelter experiences are, what your experiences are being homeless, maybe some of the barriers to the shelters. I know that a lady shared that due to the curfew, she lost her job, so she wasn't able to stay at a shelter. So it's really things like that that we feel like city officials and leaders need to hear so that they can run successful shelter programs. Programs that really benefit the people that are using them. And so that's mainly why we're here today. We want to open the mic so that people can speak. We kind of want to keep it short, and then we can circle back because there's probably a lot of people that have a lot of different things to say, different avenues of their experiences. And so we're going to open up the mic to talk about that. Who wants to be first?
Right.
who wants to, somebody, you want to go? Okay, cool. Excellent. So say your name or whatever name you want to use.
Hello, my name is Pauline. As of June 17th,
Somebody's asking.
Lost my
Somebody in the
apartment,
audience is
90
asking.
years.
What's he asking?
And,
Can you sign it or mine?
since June 17th.
Can I sign the petition? I haven't put it up yet, but I guess you could.
Reason being,
I'll
because
try
of
to.
rent increases and a slumber. And COVID rent relief gave up on me. A few other tenants as well on April 1st. And I am currently on Section 8 voucher. I've been on it for 15 years. Took a survey of some of the tenants down at Benchlands. 218 people I took a survey for. Thank you. 42, including myself, had Section 8 vouchers. And 27 of us have been struggling with finding proper housing with all the fees pertaining to application fees and additional fees that we must pay for background checks and credit scores. Credit scores on Section 8. So that's a total of 218 people I asked. 42 of them have Section 8 vouchers. We are struggling. We cannot find anything that's feasible. I have a disabled daughter. Right now she's currently living with her father, and our apartment is the only place she's ever known.
And I've been depending on food bombs since the very beginning. Even when I had my apartment, my daughter and I always pertained to food bombs just because we felt welcome there. So between Benchlands and food bombs, we need them. And until most of us who are really struggling to find housing that are on the straight and narrow, or some of us do have mentally handicapped or addictive personalities, I should say. There's a lot of us that are really trying, but these application fees for apartments or studios going all the way out to Hollister is becoming ridiculous. And the motel pays, especially weekends, are killing us. Most of us are living on SSI at maybe $900 a month.
So, as a Benchland tenant, a new tenant, we are in dire need of stability. And right now, we are all cuddled together, but we are one. We are one. Food Not Bombs has been there helping us when some of us cannot get food stamps. Some of us don't make enough income with a job or SSI. So I'm asking you, with all due respect, help us. Help us that some of us, or most of us, a good percentage of us, who are trying to find a place. Find a place that doesn't always require credit fees, credit score checks. I mean, we can't have 600 and above. Some of us like 400, okay? But if you currently live, have had a good resume for the tenant, landlord, it shouldn't be hard. But it's $50 per application fee for finding an apartment or a studio or anything is becoming incredibly insane. So I'm asking for the city of Santa Cruz to help us, because we are family down there. Food Not Bombs is our family. They're the ones who's keeping us sustained. And without them, I'd be hungry. I'd be starving. Plus they got the best cup of coffee ever. So I'm asking for any help from the county. You guys had $14 million. Where did that go? We got messy portables. It's disgusting. There's no water in those wash tubs. But we are all one down there. We are one. And we're gonna fight. And if we got, most of us talk about chaining ourselves to a tree if need be. Because you ain't gonna get us out of there. Because, it's gonna take more than a bulldozer to get us out of there. This is family. This Food Not Bombs is family. Like I said, I've been part of Food Not Bombs since the very beginning. Even when I had cars, home, bank accounts, and not looking so roughed up. But I'm comfortable where I'm at right now until I get back on my feet. But I just need assistance on the damn credit scores, the damn application fees for apartments. It's become ridiculous. So on behalf of Benchlands, I am Pauline. I've been there since June 17th. I feel like I've been there forever. And Food Not Bombs, thank you so much. I've been a part of you, since the very beginning.
So you want to speak for now, or?
Oh, no.
Not now. Who else from the Benchlands wants to speak? You want Robert? Okay, yeah. Beautiful.
I got a lot of stage.
Yeah, you do. You better get up here. Come on, come on.
Who's that?
there and I had my phone with a camera. I was filming them. And I said, "Why are you arrested?" I said, I started walking away. And one of the cops said, the other cop, "Get him." And they tackled me right under my car. And they didn't beat me up, but they got my hands. I had a pocket knife, a little fold-out pocket knife. They said I had a weapon. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Then I was so skirmished, when I got up, my foot hit a female officer in the face, but it didn't break her jaw or any of her teeth. I didn't hurt her. In fact, I heard her say a few minutes later, "I'm fine." I heard her say that. But I'm still facing felony charges for beating up a police officer because they made all this shit up. And they get to do whatever they want with us and our rights because, oh, I can't afford a lawyer that costs $20,000 to show up. We need more public bathrooms downtown. It's ridiculous what the public bathrooms, and they say we shit on the streets. There's no trash cans and no bathrooms. That might be why that problem is happening, but they're trying to point that all at us too. So, yeah, that's what I got to say, and things need to get a little better.
Thank you, Chairman.
Hey, Kazoo! Come on, Kazoo. You get, can't put, any of the Roberts want to go up?
You can speak from where you're sitting.
Come on.
I'll talk now. I got a lot to say from the beginning.
Come on, Robert. Yeah, he's just fixing the mic.
I'm sorry. Well, I was at Benchlands from Ross Cap. Now, when I went there, I signed up so everybody else could get into something. Then I was at 1221 River Street. I got 86 for no reason. Because I don't like to tell, but I saw one of the staff members talking to me on a Friday night. And he was looking at the 1221. I couldn't get in there to get any of my things. I've had my car repoed, taken by the police. I don't know where it went. I've had 23 tickets on it. Supposed to get signed up. Nothing. I lost my 2006 car. And I'm still telling them, the bathrooms, yes, I see it all the time. I got taxes to help people out here. I'm on both sides of the fence. But I'm a Benchland person myself. When they were first had it open, it was really nice. You come and go, but you just couldn't have a lot of crap. But the water was better, bathrooms were cleaner, and I addressed the issue with them about the hand wash, how dirty they were. You know, the water, they don't take them out and replace them. And I even asked the guys to come and clean the toilets. Yeah, north. So, but yes, that dirt out was really bad. You know, so I'm dealing with things too. But I get mad because I want to take them out. But chief, you know, we all have to stick together. People don't stick together, right? They're cutthroat, and then by that, everybody's getting penalized. And I hate to say things. I hate to be in public, and I have my own issues. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay, some more Benchlands residents or other or people living outside that didn't fit in the Benchlands?
I can take a second to talk about
Take it, yeah, so.
So just to take a second, I don't know, how educated our crowd is here about what options there are available for people who are in house right now. But I work for a local nonprofit, and I do want everybody just to know that right now, housing vouchers are not being offered. For a while, there was some emergency housing vouchers, and there was some disabled housing vouchers. They were offered for a short period of time. Some people right now have those vouchers and they're having trouble finding units. And so that's been a major issue. But right now, we're not even at the point where we're giving more vouchers. And so the only thing being utilized is something called rapid rehousing. What that is it's temporary rent assistance. It's kind of like a tiered program where these nonprofits will pay your rent for up to a year. And it's like a little at a time. And then at the end of that year, you're expected to pay market rate rent. And so what we're seeing is that even if you're lucky enough to get housed in one of those programs, you end up being cycled back through. At the end of the year, you're most likely homeless again because not many people, go from being homeless to making, $45 an hour or something like that at the end of 1 year in order to pay this, crazy inflated market rate rent. So I just want to take a quick minute so that everyone knows that's the status of our rental assistance right now.
It's not.
So, the other Benchland residents want to speak? Beautiful, come on. Yeah, beautiful. That's the point of this. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Felita, and I am not prepared at all, but I'm just really busy trying to get everything done that needs to get done for us down there because I worked my whole life. I've not worked, and I go to UCSC. I majored in environmental studies. I'm just trying to do the right thing every day, but it's really hard when you're homeless and there's nowhere to go, and there's no homeless shelters, and there's a lot of money that the city has gotten to build homeless shelters, and yeah, that there's none. And city council meetings, I don't think this is a city council meeting.
No, this is a Union of the Homeless Food on Bonds meeting.
Awesome. My boyfriend went to a city council meeting and he was laughed at when he tried to share some of our thoughts and ideas. And basically, I want to start a lawsuit, like a class action lawsuit for people who are disabled and need help and aren't getting what there's just been a huge misappropriation of public funds, and I think that we need to come together and just stand up for what's right, because this is right.
Just give it back. Bless you. Okay.
Is there any attorneys that are taking on pro bono to talk for?
Okay, for the lawsuit, we're just going to do it ourselves, and we're going to do it the next couple of days. So that's the story there. So and we've done this will be like what, the third time we've just done it on our
So
own.
where do we go to hold the police accountable? There's no accountability, and we need to inform them that these guys are fucking out of control.
Well, the thing's going to be, I'm going to speak just for a short bit, and I'm hoping that a few other people like Billy, who will be here, and a few of the other people I spoke to. I don't know if anybody here has got a bike and go over to the Benchlands and make sure everybody starts coming over, although I bet yeah, if you could, thank you. Yeah, just start sending people over.
As many people as you can.
Yeah. So anyways, the reality is that there's going to probably be a doubling of the unhoused population between now and the first of the year, right? So we're going to, like the 500 people that are in the Benchlands now would theoretically become 1,000 people, although they cannot fit there because the 500 that are there can't fit there now. So, this is going to get to be real wild Mad Max type of future here in the coming months, and we just have to face that fact that already. And I talked to Sonia, the current mayor, and she admits that when you go downtown, virtually every doorway has people living in it now. That's while we have hundreds of people living in the Benchlands. So this is going to escalate way out of control. And what is sad is, I remember I first spoke at City Council in 1988 and urged the city to plan ahead for an ever-increasing number of unhoused people by doing things like building a single-room occupancy hotels, and just to look towards the future, that the economy is getting worse. More and more people are losing their homes, and now what do we have? I think it's there's 40 million people facing eviction currently in the United States. I think in California we have 660,000 people that are households that are currently greater than 2 months behind on their rent. So this will be like a massive crisis. It's already a massive crisis for people living in the Benchlands. You know, it's not really the most fun place to live. I have not talked to a single soul, and I'm down there all the time. Joy's down there all the time. We run into everybody going, woo, this is great. You know, the rats are smaller or something. No, none of that is going on. You know, we're going to end up with a very high percentage of the American people living outside here in short order. And it seems to be that since the government is not at this point interested in addressing this problem other than through police, and it's not the cops' fault themselves that they're so. I mean, the individual cops are pretty brutal and horrible, as was the case with Joy just the other day. But it's also a system that is brutal, and it's a city manager, and it's a city council, and it's the people the hedge funds that fund them, and Google. You know, you may all know that, for instance, the treasurer of Take Back Santa Cruz, Manuel Prado's wife, is the chief attorney for Google. They're multi-millionaires. They're some of the wealthiest people in our community. And Alicia did a Public Records Act request, and we got documentation that they have been having meetings with the mayor and the chief of police. This was Mills and the city manager, Martine Bernal, and I forget, maybe Myers with the mayor, something like that. And in the 14 pages we got, 13 pages, they talked about why are they not towing Alicia Cool's RV with her family in it. They also want to know why the city wasn't towing my completely legally registered vehicle. What is wrong with the city that they aren't taking Keith McHenry's vehicle? So I have no tickets. I'm fully registered. There's not a legal purpose for taking my vehicle, but you have yet a person who on her 700, California Form 700, says she has more than $1 million worth of Alphabet stock, and she has over $100,000 worth of Berkshire Hathaway stock. They have a $3 million house. And they're after a used RV with 3 little kids and a mom and dad. That's insane. They're after some random guy that's feeding people's car. Just take it. That's the kind of insanity that we have here in this community. And that Google could have built shelters for everybody. They dump in about $600,000 to a boat in this community, but they don't house people. No, there's no plan. There's no plan. This 3-year plan, which is the same as the last 3-year plan, which is the same as the last 3-year plan, doesn't result in people having safe places to go and live. It resulted in Alicia doing a lawsuit and suing the city to block them from evicting people from San Lorenzo Park, and then us negotiating to have people move down to the Benchlands, and us feeding people every week at the Benchlands. So that's crazy. Okay, so now we get some more residents from the Benchlands. Who would like to speak next from the Benchlands? I saw a couple people come in. Oh yeah, there you are. Come up. Yeah, well, that's an I mean, right now, according to the ACLU, we have like 25 places for the people at the Benchlands to move to. But I don't know how that's going to work. Okay, Joe. Great.
Well, I've lived in Santa Cruz the last 5 years, and lately I just noticed a lot of attitudes about the public are increasing. And I do believe that some of the activities that I've taken photographs of or witnessed, such as a burned out stove on the right side of Water Street on the levee. It wasn't burned there, it was placed there. And we don't have like the means or to do something like that. And as far as the fire in Pocono the other day, I don't even believe that was started by a homeless person. I think it was started by people that want us gone, and they'll do nothing to stop that getting rid of us. I mean, I think they should be investigated. I think they're a criminal. I lost my car, because of 5 tickets which were paid, but they still refused to call off the tow truck driver after Keith paid my tickets. Since then, I've lost all my belongings probably 4 times. And my health is worse because of having to live without transportation. I think that what I really want to say is that I think that even homeless people matter. I think that we're all important people, and people that died or dying here could have maybe 5 years from now gotten their life together, gotten with a house like Alicia, and maybe done something to make a difference in this country or world that can better humankind. We are sons, daughters, uncles, aunts, nephews, cousins, nieces, sisters and brothers of America, and I see that they treat people that come here from other countries better than their own, and because of money. And America isn't about money; it's about freedom, and it's about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness or property. And no cause harm or loss to your neighbor, and they're causing harm and loss to us. I mean, we have just as much right to be here in Santa Cruz, beautiful it is. It is anyone else with money. Just because we don't have the ability, and it's hard because it's smacked down into the dirt. Some people can't pull themselves back up. They have to get pulled up. That's what I told when she called in asking for help. I just think that this town really needs a shot to the heart for compassion. That's all.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I want to talk about the shelter capacity. One of the biggest concerns with the city shutting down the Benchlands so quickly is that they talked about shelter capacity with the opening of their new spot up by the Armory. With those two and 1220 River, they're only looking at shelter capacity for maybe about 85 people. And that's, 85 to 100 if we're being generous, but we're talking about a population in the Benchlands that exceeds well over 200. 250 easily,
It's like 500.
upwards. We've witnessed up to 30 people in groups there where you might just think that there's 2 people in a tent. That's not necessarily true. So I think that the city has kind of jumped the gun with wanting to close the Benchlands at this particular time when they don't have the shelter capacity and a real adequate plan to do so. So that's the biggest concern. Something like that affects our entire community. If people don't have a place to go, where are they gonna go? We're still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's a lot of concerns. I also want to mention that encampment has been city sanctioned since we did the lawsuit. So it's been in the city's power to provide services. Like I read the mayor's message that came out, I don't know, yesterday, the day before, talking about all these issues, how it's become, a drug haven. There's trash, there's pollution going into the river. These are all things that could have been mitigated by the city by providing additional services, extra trash pickup, more services. They're only talking about really bringing in case workers and case managers when they're talking about the closure. What about the whole time that it's existed there? And so that's the big thing. They're really not prepared for closure. And so until we have a more adequate plan, we kind of need to do something about that. And that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, you can tell.
I used to live on the side of the road in Camp for a couple of years, but I was fortunate enough to put a trailer on a piece of property and pay rent out of my Social Security check. But I've taken food down to the Benchlands for Food Not Bombs, and since then I've been down to the Benchlands quite a few times. And you know what? I've always felt enlightened when I left because people were so kind to me and they're soulful. I mean, these people, people that live in houses aren't perfect. Why? And one guy told me when I was down there, and I told him, He says, I don't judge anybody. He says, I don't judge anybody. And I said, you know what? I need to hear that. That's really good. I mean, these people, they're decent. I mean, none of us are perfect. I don't live in a house, but I mean, people, I don't know. My understanding is the city bought property across the street from Coral Street Shelter. Are they housing anybody over there? Are they offering anybody housing over there? No. They've taken money from the government, or not taken, but they've been allocated money, and it never gets to helping these people. They create new jobs, $200,000 a year for some OG pencil pusher, but now they call them techs or whatever. But you know, the money never gets to helping these people, and I just feel irate about it. Every time I've been down to Benchlands, like Keith said, people aren't jumping around and hooray, hooray. No, but they really could be there. I feel enlightened every time I leave there. Thank you.
Okay, now,
What's up, everybody? I'm Jed. I'm a resident in Benchlands. I want to address, first of all, this sparsity here by the Santa Cruz mayor. First thing that really caught my attention here is, despite the fire department's regular efforts to help manage fire safety issues there, the fire risk is very serious. The fire department's efforts to help our fire safety. Not long ago, a tent burned down a month or two ago. I had a fire extinguisher that I found actually on the side of the road one day, and it was full. And I was able to not completely put out the fire, but help a great deal with that fire extinguisher. And the fire department shows up, I don't know, 20 minutes later or whatever, right? And I went to the guys in the fire truck, and I said, hey, I just, evacuated my fire extinguisher to try to put this fire out. Like, I need to get a new one, like, because this happens down here, it's just part of living down here. And I asked him, is there any way I could get a fire extinguisher from you guys? And the guy told me no. And I was like, well, where can I get one? And he said, well, go to the store and buy one. I'm like, dude, I live in a tent down here. Like, if I had money for a fire extinguisher, the first thing I would do is not buy a fucking fire extinguisher. So there's their effort to help with the fire safety. Another thing, I noticed in this letter, she's talking about their shelter, the overlook up there at the La Viega and the River Street shelter. It says on here, the overlook has 75 spots. As of like a few days ago, from what I heard, there are still maybe 10 spots available. At the River Street shelter, there says 27 spots. None of them are open. It's completely full to capacity. And even more than capacity because they have more people living in the tents than are supposed to be there. The services that they say are here for us aren't here. They say that they provide showers or whatever for us. They have shower people come in this portable shower thing like 2 or 3 times a week. Once. It's only once a week now? Okay. Once a week, Sundays, I think it is.
Friday.
Friday? Okay, well, Friday from what is it?
10 to 4.
10 to 4?
I'm sorry, 10 to 2.
No, it's like 10 to 2, yeah. Yeah, and if you're not there by like 1 o'clock, then you're definitely not getting in. So from 10 to 2, they give everybody 20-minute showers. There's 2 shower stalls. What is that? 3 showers an hour if everybody follows the 20-minute shower rule, which they don't.
It's a 15-minute shower.
15-minute? Okay.
Should be 5.
So that's what is that? It's what, like maybe 20?
We complete the list of people usually. There usually aren't too many people after the fact saying they didn't get a shower. And then Sundays there's showers, and then Housing Matters has showers. I feel you though.
Yeah, the Housing Matters, that place they have accused me of jumping the wall late at night to go visit somebody that I don't even know who lives there. And I am banned from that property right now because they say I jumped the wall. They said they have video and picture evidence of it. I asked them to show me this video and picture evidence. I asked them for the dates that I so-called jumped this wall. She gave me the dates, and I said, that's crazy. When these dates, they can say I jumped the wall, I was on ankle monitor confined to my RV. I used to have an RV before the sheriff's found a way to tow it. It's a long story, but they basically, they arrested me for some warrants. They said that I couldn't be bailed out on or let go on it, and they arrested me, towed my RV, I bailed out the next day. As far as I know, if you have a warrant that you can't bail out on, you can't fucking bail out the next day, right? So they did that just to get my RV, and they do that to a lot of people.
Yes, they
Why? Because the people with money around here don't want to look at an RV. Like,
Well, they want your money, they wanna make money.
how? They can't make money off people. You can't squeeze blood from a rock, you know? Like,
Statistics.
So,
Yeah.
can you also describe what you saw with Billy and?
oh, my neighbor. So just last Thursday, my neighbor Billy, he lives next. Okay, so the city put in a water faucet or whatever down there with no drainage, no nothing, right? So we dug a ditch for the water to drain, and it led to the river. Now this isn't super polluted water. People wash their dishes there sometimes, so maybe some Dawn soap is getting in there. But if I remember correctly, Dawn soap is what they use to clean animals as well, right? So like, how is that hurting the environment?
The city pushes out a bunch of stuff about 3 o'clock in the morning. You'll hear it.
Yeah, and the river fills up. That river fills up.
You know,
Neighbor, anyway, he lives next to this drainage ditch, right? And the cops came and they say, hey, you need to get out of here. We need to clean all this stuff up. It's polluting the river. They let him empty his tent and get, the belongings that he really wanted to keep out of it. And they said that, get him out, put him in a pile over here, and we'll leave it. And they had a dump truck there and a backhoe to get all this stuff out of there. They let him empty his tent. And then as soon as he was done doing that, they said, okay, Billy, you gotta come up here now. And Billy goes up front, and they arrested him for some warrants that they said there were, they made it to me, they said there were warrants, and as far as I know, they were, yeah, pretty much. He's out today. 4 days later, he was out this morning. And everything that he had is gone. The city let him take it out and put it in a pile, and as soon as they had him in handcuffs in the car, they took that pile that all his cherished belongings, stuff that he spent thousands of dollars to get, is gone. It's in the dumpster.
Yep.
And they do this to us time and time again, and it's disgusting. I mean, we have these people that come in and clean along the back of the camp there, along the creek, and I mean, it's despicable when you got these people that care more about saving a duck than providing any useful anything for people.
That's right.
We're human beings.
That's right.
We deserve better than this. The city needs to provide running water for us, not these just pump water things to wash your hands after you use a disgusting porta potty. We need showers. We need access to these things 24 hours a day. There are 500 people down here, at least, probably more. And the city's not doing their part. How many millions of dollars have been given to the city by the federal government in the past few months? I know in February they got $5 million. I heard just last month, I think they got allocated $12 million.
When they give out on GA, they
10
do
million.
that.
10 million, yeah, these are millions of dollars that are going to what? They did nothing for the homeless.
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs? Oh, they gave us some hot dogs.
Oh, they went on a good
did?
thing. No, it went to the HP, who knows where it went, right?
Yeah, well, HPH is supposed to, that's a privately owned shelter, right? It's not even supposedly run by the city. But it's just disgusting. We need transparency in where the spending is going. These millions of dollars can do a lot of good for a lot of people, and it's doing nothing. They say that they're paying overtime for the cops and fencing and what they paid $400,000 for a fence.
A van.
Where?
Van.
A van. Yeah, they paid $400,000 for a van. One van.
300,000 for another.
Yeah, 300,000. It's all over in front of the courthouse. There's just a little bulletin board out there
And
with
the
a picture in
electric
there.
cart they use, the security, that surveillance, and the guy yells at us at night with anybody on the property, so it's private property when it's public courthouse.
Right? How is that? This is not right, and we need this to be publicized. We need everybody to get involved. What's up, Critter?
Well, I'm telling you, Ryan, you can't put a note in my tent.
Okay, can you come up and talk, first you.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Well,
Thank you, Chair. My name is Daniel Lexington, and I'm a magician. I'm working after the higher forces, and I refer to them whenever I'm attacked by tweets and lunatics. He put a note in my tent, said I had one day to get out. So I called the police and said I was going to drain the bank account of the chief of police and the police department if they came and took my tent. And we did drain the bank of the chief of police's bank account. There was $250,000 in it.
Yeah.
And then we drained the account of the guy who called the police on me, the Bank of America vice president who had $1,890,000 in his account, and they fired him for embezzling. But so we took all his money, threw it away. And when those cops came to my tent, they reached into my tent and they found they were burning. Because Don Juan, the sorcerer, put a spell on my tent, and anybody who reached their arm in, except for the ones I allowed, would burn their arms or their heads or whatever they stuck in. And Imhotep ripped the guts out of one of the cops. Wow. He reorganized the guts with his staff. So if you know any cops that need to be punished, just give me their names, I'll immediately punish them.
I got one name us.
Who?
Demons.
I'll write that down.
He's serious, you guys.
You got a Ross also.
You should write it down.
Demons.
What's the name about?
The Hispanic Community Service Board.
NEMA?
Mogliati.
NEMA.
Lima.
NEMA. Right?
L-I-M-A.
Lima. Lima. Okay. Well, I'm going to have the greatest sorcerer of all, George, the ruler of the ice world. I'm going to call him right now, and he's going to make this guy into a non-cop. His personality won't be able to function anymore. We could kill him. I don't want that to go on.
We want that.
No.
Okay, so hang on. I'm going to call George right now.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Give up the mic.
that's great. So, we
Yeah,
go.
I'm gonna-
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much for your
Great.
Hereafter, I'll take
Anybody
care of all
wants
your
any
cop
sorcery
crimes.
work, he's willing to do. Okay.
How you guys doing?
Jack?
My name is Jack Brian Rodriguez, and I've been homeless for the last few years. I became homeless because our justice system, actually, I was living in Texas. I relocated there where I was actually in ministry. I was part of a recovery church called Victory Outreach. We're international, and we target inner cities of the world where we develop recovery homes, training centers, and churches, and pretty good at it. If you guys look it up, it's called Victory Outreach International, everywhere, in every inner city. And it would be a prime location where I'm at right now. And so, despite what I was going through, of course, I resorted back to my old ways of dealing with pretty hectic and traumatic incident, being forced out of my home into transient through our justice system, and then all of a sudden, a week later, and then a fire happened. And before the fire, actually, there was a bulldozer that came bulldozing my stuff. How many people's stuff gotten bulldozed before? No one here?
Yeah.
I know that there's a number of people down at that park that have, and that you probably even want to say something, but are afraid to show their face for whatever reason. I'm sure we can come up with all kinds of, and this could be a lynching party, right? I'm sure we have a bunch of issues, and I'm sure they have a bunch of issues. When I say they, I'm talking about the other party, the city and the county and the police department. But I think I have a solution, or at least an attempt to a solution, or an answer that I've been kind of pondering on, that I think is possible. I believe it is possible. For the first time, I see a community. Before there was homeless people who kind of hit, and then post COVID, we have San Lorenzo. San Lorenzo is a community now. There was people who lost their homes in the fire or lost their jobs due to COVID and became homeless, and then the homeless who were homeless before they kind of mixed in together, and I believe, well, I know for a fact that they found a home within each other, within the community. Now we might not have a location, but we have a home, and I mean I think it's barbaric for somebody to come in and rip a home apart or rip people from their home. I mean, it's unconstitutional, correct?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. Our constitutional rights are being violated. Just because we don't have a facility or a designated structure, our home is our community. And so that's what we're standing up for. I think that's something we can fight for, right? And I think for the first time, this is the big step. This is the first step. We have people that are on our party here together. We're gathering and coming together and finding a solution, or I guess a tactic or a plan on executing. So my idea would be there was land for sale on River Street. It was 0000 River Street, and it was on the market for 7 years for $350,000. It was 6 parcels divided by the Highway 9. 2 of the parcels were on the left side if you're going up toward Fountain. The other 4 were on the right-hand side. The 2 were borderlining Poconops. The 4 were borderlining Paradise Park. And it was only $350,000. That's not a lot of money. That's easily either fundraised or a private donor could easily done that, right? I was heartbroken I was heartbroken yesterday because when I looked, so what happened, I always would go and check a look and see if it was still on the market. Out of 7 years, for some reason it's off the market, but I think it's because we're making a noise, we're shaking the ground, and I think people are getting a little not afraid but intimidated because we are forced to be reckoned with. On the contrary, and kind of off the record, if we wanted to, we could shut this town down in a sense. There's some riffraff that we could do that, but we don't. And I'm not saying we can cause a threat, but before it has to get there, because people are desperate. It's cold outside, and it sucks when you don't have nothing to eat. Or means to wash yourself or wash your clothes. It's not easy. And then when you give us a little bit of means, you put this perimeter or this barrier around this saying we can't do this, we can't do that. I mean, like you said, they put a spigot down there. Thank you. There's freaking running water. But then, of course, anybody who's been in construction, there's no drainage. So there's going to be stagnant water coming up. So we we dug a trench, which now they're complaining about, saying we excavated and trying to a citation. That's all bullcrap. It's all I say it's a diversion or a distraction because they don't want us. The homeless coming together and coming as a union like we started. It's a force to be reckoned with, like I said, because there's homeless people everywhere. And not all of us are thieves. Not all of us are drug addicts. Not all of us are criminals. Some of us are, and even if the ones that are, we're still people.
That's
right. We're still people, and right now we're local.
That's right.
I'm local. I haven't been back in Santa Cruz for a long time. I left when I was 20 years old, and I went abroad. Pretty much, I went to some college, and then I got into church. I got into ministry, and I fell in love with restoring people's lives. I fell in love with seeing people's lives that were falling apart get brought back together. Not just by God or but a higher self, finding their self-worth. And so I think that's what's happening. That's what happened here in San Lorenzo. We found a home within each other, within ourselves, and so that land's off the market. But there's 600 and something acres of the Poconops, right? That we maybe can start it because I'm an indigenous here in this county. I was born in Santa Cruz County at Dominican, and so I figure I'm an indigenous, and I know if my rights were violated, and I feel a certain way, like I'm getting ahead of myself. the clubhouse is a great location for a hostel. In Reno, there was the homeless there was a building that they converted into a hostel. We can do something like that, or like I said, a restoration, a recovery home, or I mean, there's lots of things we can do with the clubhouse, and I'm just
That's the podium.
yeah, and I'm just targeting that because it's just sitting there.
Yeah, it's just
You know, it's sitting there rotting away, and it hasn't been proposed since 2009, I think, or 1999. It's been like 20 years. It's been like 20 years, but now it's open. I think it belongs to the county, or it doesn't even belong to the county. But I think solutions like that are finding like that property. What I wanted to do with that property, there's 30.5 acres, and it was PG&E and water ready. Tiny homes. We can develop tiny homes. That's what I was doing in Texas before I came here, was prefabricated tiny homes. There is so much recycling that we can use. We don't even need to go to Home Depot. There's recycling all over this town that we can use and put together and actually have small tiny home kits. Now, a problem would be, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, so let me cut it short because I'm getting carried away. I'm just excited, you guys. I really am. I'm excited. Wanting to do something. We're not just desperate. We're actually eager and driven. We want to do something. So make sure you guys sign up, wherever they're doing the contacts. And then if any of you guys who live down in San Lorenzo, you can either see myself or this lovely couple right here. We're trying to get something going with you guys. If you guys have any ideas, and if you guys think that's a good idea about tiny homes or land or just occupying, if they don't like us occupying San Lorenzo, we'll occupy the Poconos or that clubhouse. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys,
Great success with the
Okay, so, and then Greg and the other people living in the Benchlands will be next. And also, just so you know, we do have, if you want the union to represent you in the litigation, you can fill this out and hand it back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg, you're next.
And then do you want to move on because we're running out of time to maybe like rent?
Yeah.
At the end, we'll do that. Yeah, we got time though. We've got an hour more.
We have an hour more.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But Alicia does keep things in order and has an amazing capacity and puts in an amazing effort and hours to keep things like this going. So it's good to pay you to do that. I'm Greg Bengtson. I live in the Benchlands. I've lived there for two and a half, 3 years. Directed there, by city officials and by the police. We have been, even people that were deemed medically vulnerable, when they're exited from the Oceana Hotel, they were told to go to the Benchlands, and promptly upon their arrival, they were probably told, well, it's closing, and you have no future, which is not precisely what they said, but that's the message you get when you were told to come to a place, and then instantly, but the problem with their message of saying it's about ready to close is that has been told to us every day in one way or another for months, since 14, 15 months ago. We never have a moment to have a place of balance and stability upon which to, move forward with the rest of your life. How can you ever plan anything when you can't even, realistically, you can't go to the store for 15 minutes and not wonder, is the bulldozer going to come and take out my place? Because they have taken out places without orange tagging them, including who's called Old Man James, St. James, denied access to the overlook facility because he was medically sensitive. Don't know what that meant, but so they said, so go down to the Benchlands where it's super healthy and safe. Then he arrives there, and next day he goes to the bank, comes back, and his place had been bulldozed because it appeared. I mean, he's in a wheelchair, so it just didn't look that tidy. But that shows the ridiculous reverse circular logic that we're facing. And we were all invited there. It was not a sanctioned camp at first. They keep utilizing this term, sanctioned, not sanctioned, and whatever is convenient for the city at that moment they use, and then they will revoke it. And we have, because of the way the city is walking into these logical traps they've set up themselves, all we have to do is snap, 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 close, connect the dots, and we need to make this done on a legal basis, but also public relations. And this isn't the type of victory that I like to go out and seize. I wish the city would work with us so that Santa Cruz could be a city that actually shows what can be done with compassion, with working together. We should be creating the next miracle of creative problem solving instead of this fiasco, a never-ending fiasco that it gets so absurd that sometimes I think, well, just go to sleep. It's a bad dream, obviously, but then it's like, well, no, I'm awake and it's been this way. And all it takes, though, I mean, not all of it takes hard work, and you can't ever let up. Those who are able need to step up and do some light lifting, heavy lifting, whatever it may be. We can't always just rely on having Alicia be there or Keith be there. We can, because they're going to be there. But there's a lot for us to do to distribute the work that needs to be done. I mean, I can feel. I mean, we're going to beat them, but what does that mean? I mean, we need to create the solution, create that future, not have it handed to us. We need to be allowed to partner into this future that is our lives. And we're not just stagnant people that are stuck in one place. We're a continuum. We've got, this is not our end point. And even if so, I mean, some of us like living outside and be wild. As long as we're given the information and we're given honesty, truth, honor from the city, we can operate. And if they don't give that to us, then we need to find methods to demand that. And we do have those. We do have channels. We've got a lot of channels. But really, we need to make sure that we're starting it from those who live there. We need to light a fire in their butts and utilize the homeless union, Puff, Food Not Bombs, utilize these groups as support to our ideas, because we do have a lot of skills there and our lives are at stake in the future. And those that we love, they're fine with us. So, yeah, and even around us, there's a lot that actually do support us. They realize what we're going through. But we need to fire it up on our own side and utilize Alicia and Keith and Robert and all those people to give us those paths. We need to be doing the footwork. We need to be the feet that do walk that path. I didn't really come up with any planned speech, but but thank you to those that have done so much work for us. And we do talk about you guys, but we need to talk about more. And Brent. And we need to thank them and let's pick up the slack and let's move forward and get something done.
Thank you.
Ready?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, my name's Robert, and I'm a local. Been here since I moved here in '82. Graduated west side of our Middle School. Went to Santa Cruz High School. What I see happening is the cops are using fear as a tool to try to instill fear in us that we won't stand up for our rights. Okay, and it breaks my heart. It really does, and we need to not be afraid. Fear destroys everything we try and create. So just be brave. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Who else wants to speak?
Why not?
Yay.
Who else lives in the camp?
Oh, yeah, does anybody live in the Benchlands that wants to talk before I do?
I live there, but I don't like
You wanna talk?
a lot of people.
Give it a try.
Blue, you can talk. Come on. Blue, everybody, you're with friends. You're with friends.
Get over it. We're all like that.
No, not really.
That's right.
I don't think that.
Don't get him started. You can read it on camera.
Most environmentally conscious award. This certificate is presented to Blue.
We work together to not fight or have wars on us. We need to clean up our messes because if we don't clean it up, we all will be checked out soon. And the cops already said if we don't clean them up, we're going to have a big
Set
mess.
there for 4 months. Why is it set there for 4 months and burned up? It took it away. And you're the porta potty. It's up to them.
Oh yeah, it's not part of the porta potty property, someone else's property. That's why it's not being removed.
If our property was there on the hill, burned down, they would have removed it.
Yeah, I know. It's not my business. So,
Well, anything else you want to say? Thank you.
I'm just curious. You know,
Okay, yeah, we want more. In Kazoo, you got to speak about it. Get up here. You got the best stories, Kazoo. One thing, real quick, we got Kazoo.
This is to all the I know it's frustrating, and I know that we've been done wrong a lot, but we have to rise above our emotions and not target. We know they're the target or whatever, but no, there's no target. There's a solution, because the back and forth is not what we need. It's going to create more, and they have more resources and more money. You know what I'm saying? So our emotions can easily get involved, and we can become a lynch mob, but that's not gonna do anything. So I know it's frustrating, guys, but trying to bite your lip and act above reproach. That means way above how they were at. You know what I'm saying? Because we're better than that.
Yeah.
Great. All right. My name's Kazoo. I live on the Benchlands. I'm living in my truck. They tell it like they do everybody else. Brand new truck, paid for it.
The audience.
Okay, if I got no money, they take the truck, and after so many days, you can't get it back anyway, you can't afford it. They've done it, before that, they did it twice. Once was 700, they threw me in jail. Once was 700, once was 500. But it was at the beginning of the month, so I could afford it. Now on the Benchlands, the rats, they're getting bigger and bigger. Lots of seltzer works. It blows them up, but you know, you can only buy one seltzer, so. It's just, the problem is down there, I think for everybody, for that many people, we're not doing that bad. Everybody tries to clean up out there, I'm trying it, everybody else, they're picking on us, they want us out of there, they're gonna get us out of there somehow, unless like, you know, I don't want to say this, but we all get together, go down the boardwalk some Saturday and go, hey, we not gonna leave town, get out of here, so. But you know, then like the gentleman said in front of me, we don't want to be the lynch mob out there, but they're lynch mobbing us. We're gonna have no place to live. I came from a place where the reason I'm here is a divorce. I'm going through a damn divorce. I own property, but you can't get it from restraining orders and stuff like that because some people have lawyers that are smarter than us, meaning my wife. And so I'm there. I'm making the best of it. All of us here, I love every one of you people here. I mean,
when I grow up, I'm gonna be like this guy. But, you know, that's when I get there. But I love all you guys, and the Benchlands to me is the way for the Benchlands is at home. I got a place to eat.
That's right.
I mean, I got 4 pieces of property. She's really got me against all my properties were restraining orders. If I call her, I go to jail. That's why they throw me in jail here all the time. As soon as they hear all these things around, they steal my cars. I got other cars, but restraining orders go on and on and on. But the Benchlands is, as far as I'm concerned, heaven. It's a big rat heaven, but it's their heaven too.
Okay, well, lady with the hat on, well, who are you? There you are, okay, and then, I know you, and then you had a question though, first.
Yeah, I just want to introduce myself. First of all, I'm Commander X, and I'm live streaming this on my Twitch channel, and we're going to put it on YouTube afterwards for everybody to see. The streaming audience had a question about Housing First initiatives, and wondered if Keith could speak on it for a minute.
Okay, so Housing First initiatives is this, in my experience, since the term was coined, has not resulted in housing at all, ever. Basically, it's like housing not. That's my experience. I think sadly it's mostly a slogan. I'm sure some people got housing, but relatively few. We know, with we noticed, like for instance, on the Housing Matters sign, they were saying 900 people or housed, but we happen to know that frequently what that means is of extremely, a person who is not likely to survive in a house for very long because of, whatever the substance abuse issues or mental health issues, might get a house because the more problems you have, the higher your point score is, and then you get in there. So I have a friend, Jeff, who got housing in Watsonville. He didn't even last 30 days. He's now wandering around town again because it's immediately like, well, he's not appropriate. And so people like Alicia, who's not in that category, spent 3 years trying to get her whole family to housing, and it was probably political pressure that eventually got that one family in housing. So a lot of that number of 900 are 900 people who got housing for maybe 30 days.
You got housing in jail.
Or housing in jail. So Housing First is, in my experience, is like a lot of programs. So we talk a lot. There's been conversations about doing an audit of a little over $100 million a year is spent on homelessness in Santa Cruz County. A ton of that is really the emergency room because it makes sense, right? A lot of it is police time, overtime, but a lot of that $100 million is not actually housing, right? And year after year, you hear 100 million, 100 million, 100 million. After a while, that's some pretty real money. You could almost, you look at San Francisco, right? Because of the way the federal and state laws are and county law in San Francisco, they spent $63,000 for a 10 by 10 square in a parking lot near UM Plaza with a pub tent. Each pub tent was $63,000 for, I don't know if it was for the entire COVID pandemic or if it was like a month. I think it was for whatever the time is. But, you could have actually put that person in an apartment for that kind of money. And this is what we see is that the way the funding is organized, and this has been the case since the Clinton administration, is organized in such a way that ultimately it is not allowed to be used for stuff that would make sense. And largely that's because, they're so careful, they don't want anybody to get off on something for free, right? And so, it goes to salaries. Like, so housing for health, Dr. Ratner got $20 million grant, it was $20 million for 2 years was granted for his program. But he specifically told me it wasn't for housing, it was for his program. So this is, it's designed to make sure the homeless industrial complex is designed to make sure that there's more of us on the streets every year because that benefits the people that are making money from this thing. And how many people, like, how many months have it been? It's like a year since the Housing Matters shower went down, and they had all this. And then Jeff Bezos gave them $2 million, and then they couldn't use it for the shower because it was for something else. And this is the story you get endlessly. That the money is, if you only understood the money, you would understand why none of it is really used to help the homeless. And so this is what Housing First is like that. Yeah, you have a question?
That's why I was saying solution, right? A solution. The money isn't just going to be given to us, but like I seen a group of young, they're all Asian, right? But they had all the same T-shirts, and they're giving us food. Grants were probably given to them because they have their organization, right? So like the tiny home thing, say me and Jed get together and we have a proposal, we have blueprints, we have everything we need on paper, and we give it to them, then that right there is a good indication of them granting us a grant or some funding, because we have it down on paperwork. That's what they want to see. They want it's like a corporate thing.
Well, I want to talk about.
Sorry.
We have a chapter in Pensacola, Florida, Food Not Bombs, right? And we did a Bitcoin fundraiser, and we bought about 25, 30 acres of forest land in Pensacola. If you've ever been to Pensacola, it's a map. It's like land size. It's like the size of Santa Cruz County, but it's a town, and a lot of it is vacant. So they bought like a forest, and they then wanted to have people live in that forest. That's why they bought it. And they had to fight. There's a great documentary about the years of struggle with permitting and how they didn't, the entrance to the place was illegal, blah, blah, blah. They did it anyway and had to fight the city for the entire time. They're still fighting the city to this day. That was like maybe 10 years ago. Because the issue wasn't that they had the money and they owned the land. It was because they owned the land for homeless people to live on. And the little village that they created was fantastic and beautiful. But the city didn't want unhoused people in their town, so they just fought them. And we just looked at a parcel of land on 7th Avenue for a tiny homes development. And the original land, the main person on it was so excited about it and everything. We're like working with Manu and all these people trying to get a tiny home village there. And in the end, you couldn't get, the family was so fed up after a while, they said, no, we're not doing any tiny homes on that land. So that's one of the biggest problems is that, the units that are over on Coral Street that they're starting to build, they've been working on that now for, 10 years, 15 years? As long as I remember, they've been going to build those buildings. And banks wouldn't cooperate, financial systems wouldn't cooperate, you couldn't get loaning. A lot of our unhoused people in Santa Cruz County are people that got red tagged in the 2007, 2008 foreclosure crisis, and Wells Fargo just confiscated their house as a result. They're, and then now they're moving outside. I've run into a lot of people that ended up moving outside from that. So anyway, there has to be. The Clinton administration, I think, became the most devastating for homeless policies, and it's just trended worse ever since the Clinton administration. I mean, when I started Food Not Bombs, Reagan was running for president. Then Reagan became president. And it was terrible by 1988. And that's when they started really clamping down on homeless people. And really maybe even 86, 87. And, just gotten worse and worse. And talk about clamping down. Today's the 33rd anniversary of the original arrest of Food Not Bombs. First 9 of us were arrested 33 years ago today. And that started what became 1,000 arrests for feeding the hungry in San Francisco. Eventually the city gave up. We still share food there. But it did inspire the founding of chapters in over 1,000 cities and over 55 countries. And we had to set up a whole system of, we had risk arrest one day a month with the bombs program. We had all kinds of ways of standing our ground. And so, we're not gonna be intimidated away from the town clock or anything like that. So Dan, we have more people living on the streets, and then we're gonna get to you, Brent, with your programs. They're fantastic. We want people to hear about them. And,
I have some encouragement.
encouragement? Yeah, and so why don't you speak? Any other people? Come on. Now you gotta speak. Come on.
No, you, yeah.
Yeah, you come up first, and then I'm gonna try to control some more my friends to go up. Yeah, you gotta go up.
Okay, so I found since right when COVID started, there was nothing. There was no help. I was driving around with my heavy-duty trash bags because people were wet and cold because everybody stopped helping, homeless people. People were really cold because it was super cold when COVID started and it was raining at the same time. So, I was like the bag lady, and handing out these bags, which was really effective, it did a lot. It was very, efficient. And that's kind of what I'm all about now. I'm a construction worker. A lot of people here are still fit and construction workers, and a lot of us are retired carpenters with basically a master's degree in carpentry. And what I like to do is have like a group of people who are willing to, agree to at least talk about starting to build tiny homes. And if they're on wheels, then any land that we get, we can just roll it on there, and if we gotta move, we can roll it off. So that's the most efficient way to get around the fact that they're not letting us build anywhere. And also, I'm a targeted individual. I've been microwave weaponed in my house, and that made me homeless long before I didn't even need to be homeless back then, but I had to get out of my house. And I had all kinds of proof, meters. It was like being this close to my microwave was like being in my bed. It was like deadly. I had to get out. And sometimes it's neighbors. It's a $50,000 budget that have to torture people. Most of us are women. Most of us are Rh negative. Strangely, there's a whole biological thing, and a lot of medical implants have been tested on us. And a lot of stuff that comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, sounds familiar. Been through something like that, like heart rate changes, ionizing radiation, non-ionizing radiation, high frequency sounds that are not from my body that change when I just move to a different area because they're just where I am. Things like that. So, we're dealing with the future, and basically I'm very cynical about what are we all looking at in terms of people wanting to help us after living in San Francisco. When Willie Brown was the mayor, I had a friend carpenter who was getting paid a lot more money than normal union carpenter to build homeless shelters on kind of like a waterfront area that was going to be torn down in 3 months. And they put in the padding and the carpet. They put really nice carpet. They spent all of the budget, they could millions of dollars to get rid of the money that they were going to have to spend on homeless housing. So that's what we're dealing with. I never heard anybody get Willie in trouble for that one. There's no accountability. There's not going to be apparently. We're not really organized that much. We need to get organized. So, just accountability and taking notes. One thing I've been thinking about is, head count, like who's getting killed, who's getting knocked off. A lot of women are dead. Yeah. I'm really concerned about the women. Yep. I move around a lot. I hide out. That's why I would never be in a place like the Benchlands. Is I gotta move, partly because of the microwave warfare. Anywhere for 3 days, it's really uncomfortable, and I can't take it. I just end up vomiting. So, especially if I get a job or a date or job interview or something like that, it's been that way for a long time. But if you want to look up Barry Trower, he talks about microwave warfare. It's been going on for decades. Barry Trower worked for MI6, and now admits that we've been doing this for decades, and this is from England, and it's happening here as well. Worldwide, most countries are involved in this satellite stuff. So it's like you can't hide, you know. But anyway, with that dark thing that's going on, that's just part of, like, since the Senate looked into that, they said, well, you're not actually catching terrorists because it's an anti-terrorist thing, and that's the premise for doing a lot of this stuff, which means, you know, we don't have any civil rights because they have excuses, and they don't have accountability because they don't have to answer what are we doing, well, it's top secret, you know. But anyway, I feel that homeless people are targeted in general, whether they're microwave, whether they're hearing synthetic voices or not. When I say synthetic voices, I mean there was a battle in Iraq where 80 soldiers all heard the voice of Allah synthetically in their heads, you know, drop your guns and give yourself up to the Americans. Boom. They all did it because they're so religious. And that happens to our people. I know a lot of people that are experiencing different things. Also, there's sporotrichosis. There's a fungus that's getting in the dust. That's getting into people. It's super itchy, like my legs. I have to cover them if I go near where there's a lot of people, especially homeless people, people that don't bathe a lot, because it's a fungus, but it becomes kind of this yeast in the body, but there's also nanotechnology involved. So I feel that there's been sort of experiments going on, medical experiments not treating this thing, and people have been dying with open wounds because it causes necrotic open sores, and they tend to just go up along the, that's pretty gross, but anyway, it's really hard to get a doctor to diagnose this or treat it, so that's something I've been trying, you know.
They say you're septic, that's what they tell you.
Yeah, they see you're septic, and I mean, I have friends that have died, you know, and how did I meet them? Like, oh, you know, like being an ambulance chaser that I am. You know.
I need to interrupt you. So I just want to give my appreciation to Fred Keeley for being the only political leader that actually arrived here. And so that's like, and the other mayoral candidate I also invited here personally, but she didn't show. And and he was invited, he didn't show. In fact, all the city councilors were invited, and so.
They'll show next time.
So the only person that showed was Fred. So just so that people, I saw him leaving, I want to make sure he knew that we recognized that he came. So, okay, so we have 30 minutes left. So what I want to do now is we're going to let some of the other service providers like Brennan speak. And then what we want to do is to hand out socks. And then people that want to be in the union, and you probably signed this, we're going to give you a union t-shirt to wear in the camp. And we can do more of those shirts. If you have other friends who want to be in the union and get the yellow shirt. And then also we want to start taking statements of what would the harm, if you were kicked out of the Benchlands, what kind of harm will happen to you? Because we need to have a couple of people write that out. But we also will probably just go through the Benchlands tomorrow or the next day and get those statements. And then we will file our litigation in the next couple of days in federal court again, as we have done in the past. Yes?
I just want to say, if anybody gets photos or stuff thrown around, let me know about it, we're not cops.
Okay, great. That's beautiful.
I have a question.
Yeah, you have a question, yes?
Yeah, so you're gonna do a class action lawsuit?
Not exactly a class. So unfortunately, so far, we've been trying to get homeless people to be a class, and it hasn't, courts, in my understanding, haven't said that they're a class because it's, because it's an economic thing. Yeah, it's a claim that you don't have the money to rent a house, and therefore you're not a class. So, but it's going to be, but you will be. So technically it's not a class action lawsuit, but it is. You will be a person in a lawsuit to, and certainly we want to get your statement as well. And there was some of the people here have already been in the last lawsuit.
Describe what it is, Keith. It's essentially a restraining order. It's called an injunction. it would be a restraining order to restrain the city from evacuating the encampment. And that's how we started. And then essentially we kind of end up negotiating, you know, the city will go back and forth. This is why we need to evacuate the camp. Then we'll say, you know, this is why it needs to stay. This is what could happen. And then we end up with some sort of negotiation. If we get that far, there's a chance that when we do these things, it could be directly denied. The judge could hold on to it and think about it. The judge could grant it with provisions. When you put these things into the hands of the federal court, you don't know really what you're gonna get. So all we can do is try.
Yeah.
That's what happened before. It's actually kind of why the Benchlands is still intact, is because we were successful to get a federal injunction almost 2 years ago now. And the encampment has stayed intact since then, essentially.
Yeah, and so you had another legal question about that? I mean, there is an attempt to get homelessness as a class. And there's a lot of attorneys around the United States right now trying to work on that.
So we're not homeless people. Like, we are people who work and have lost our jobs and our places to live because of an economic crisis that happened. I work in restaurants. All the restaurants got shut down, and now I'm treated as this person who's yeah. So and then I'm told, oh, I'm not a classic, but a class action lawsuit doesn't have to be a class of people that are the same. Class action lawsuits are legal cases involving a large group of class members suing a defendant, and they come together because they suffered a similar harm. Like, we don't need to be like a classic black people or like.
Well, that's really good. So you should work with Alicia and see if we can get that to be over the hurdle, because we keep getting stopped with that. But that would be great. I think you've got, you know.
A lot of people have already suffered a lot of harm.
That's not entirely where we keep getting caught up. We keep getting caught up because Martin versus Boise has holes in it. It has not been challenged in a way that makes it really black and white. And that's
First
the
of all,
truth.
like, the encampment isn't even an adequate place for people to live.
There's
And
too many
when you're referring to.
Yeah, Martin versus Boise is supposed to be an indoor space.
An adequate place to live. When they opened that up and I walked up there, I looked at them and I'm like, this is inadequate, and I walked away from it.
Yeah,
Right.
We're not trying to.
Because I didn't think it was like.
Yeah, but it would be great to have you on our legal team. If you want, that would be fantastic. So then there was Robert, and then
Can I speak?
yeah, okay. I guess so, and then we'll have Robert speak. Yeah, Brent's supposed to.
I'll be quick.
Yeah. So why don't Brent talk first, and then we'll take questions, and then I want to hand out socks and t-shirts afterwards.
Hi, everybody. Warming Center, Footbridge Services, storage program, laundry, showers, a women's shelter. We've been doing a whole bunch over the last 10 years without any city or county help, even though we've reached out, been denied. What I really want to talk about, the field of things that need to be discussed tonight is broad. So I'll just try to cut right through and get some basics here. I see 3 columns. One is the national paradigm that has been discussed, housing first. That's a real thing. It's well-intentioned. How do you end homelessness? Get people into housing. It feels good. Everyone buys in. The 10-year plan in the past was called All In. It actually is broken, as we discussed, because people, their homes are not for you, not for us. They didn't reserve their spare bedroom to bring somebody who sleeps outside in. The entire program is broken. On the west coast from San Diego to Seattle, it's not working in a single city, and they're not ready to claim defeat yet. They keep doubling down on it. So that's a huge problem. Unfortunately, the people on the left and the people who mean well in Santa Cruz also want to believe that we're all going to get housing. I'm sorry to say, but definitely the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Do get on all of their lists. Do play the game. If you have a Section 8 voucher, I recommend maybe trying another town where there's more housing. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. On the other side, there used to be this anti-homeless camping ban for decades in Santa Cruz. Really, the city leaders and the county, they're trying to get back to that desperately, and they've actually already cinched the deal. The mechanism, and also let's admit, let's open our cognitive concept to understand that if you have a house or a business or a tourist, just let me get complete. That people who do have houses and businesses, really, it's not their benefit to see tents or people sleeping in their doorway.
Where do you get your funding from?
I don't get funding. I write grants and I have to get $20 here, $20 there. I actually didn't pay myself a salary for the last 2 years.
You don't get grants from the federal government?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something else. Thank you. So what's true is they're trying. So it's appropriate that there be some sort of guidelines on people sleeping outside. But we want to talk about this. There's been camps since 2017, since Martin versus Boise, and Chief Mills allowed a large encampment in the Benchlands. And then they cleared it every 3 months, and people moved back, and they cleared it every 3 months. And I discovered on a tour of the West Coast, I camped out myself in 40 cities, from San Diego to Salt Lake City to Seattle, to see what was going on. And I discovered something amazing. First, what you find is Santa Cruz acts like it's a bubble. It's the only place that experiences homelessness in the world. And every other city plays that game too. In fact, they play that game. We should be working with all the cities in the region, all the counties in the region. The reason they don't is it's a money game. They're extracting that money from the federal government, and they all compete against each other. But what I found is, in San Francisco, I saw camp sweeps in every city I went to, and the police mistreating people's belongings every place I went to. But in San Francisco, you'll see some elegance. They have the hot team there, DPW. What they do is everybody has their stuff on wheels. Yes, they're camping for 3 months. Then they clear that space. They don't bitch or complain. They move 3 streets down, and they street clean, and then 3 months later they move, and then later they're back. They call it camp displacement. We tried to talk to the city about that in Santa Cruz, like, here we have a certain number of people who are outside. You're not actually housing them. They are here. Can't we have some elegance to this? Well, what's true is, let's agree. We've been experiencing camp displacement all this time. You're still here. Many of you have been in the Ross camp, right? You're still here. You didn't dematerialize in the space. They didn't jail you. They didn't bury you. You're still here. So let's agree that no matter what happens to this camp, you're going to be somewhere. That's a fact. But what's true is we saw the Benchlands 2017. Then we saw the Ross camp. Then in my backyard, I had to unintentionally host Camp Paradise and Hell's Trail. And then we saw the highway camp, and then back to the Benchlands, point 2.0 and point 3.0 and all this. So what's true is they're not letting us know after all this. We're going to end up someplace. We can't. The city doesn't work with us that way. We should have a nonprofit. We should have a left of center community that wants to work with us this way. But unfortunately, we don't. There are reasons for that. But what I would like to encourage you is that realize that in a few months, and even 6 months, and even a year, if you're not in housing and you're still in Santa Cruz, you are going to be somewhere. And the best thing that you can do is double down on those values that agreement camps were trying to talk about. Take care of your trash and be really responsible with yourself and encourage your neighbors. Don't steal from your neighbors. This is a class value. Try not to use openly. Try not to trespass into the neighborhood. Try to be good neighbors for your unintentional hosts wherever you end up. We had an agreement camp for 9 months out in Harvey West without a complaint. We dealt with our trash, and it was a strong, and then the city moved us into the Benchlands, and then finally we got flooded out. The city said they'll arrest us if we ever do another agreement camp. And yes, we have, and now we have this fucking Benchlands that we're trying to defend, and it's really something we should not have, desired in the first place. So my encouragement is this, and I don't have a lot to say to you in the end, which is, get together a strong group of people. Some people want to defend, some people want to build tiny homes, a lot of people have lofty visions. But just realize out there someplace is a field, and that field is going to have tents in it. and that field is gonna have garbage and porta potties.
Ooh.
And I'm sorry, I'm not voting for that, I'm just trying to be,
No, you're a piece of shit.
I'm pragmatic.
You're a piece of shit is what you are.
Thank you very much.
We're all pragmatic.
Okay, well,
Where do you get your
thank you
funding
though
from?
for,
Thank you.
yeah, everybody get a shower, breath, take your store stuff there if you're, so Robert, and then, no, you first, Elise, and then Robert.
Where do you get your funding from?
I'm gonna be brief.
I'm so jazzed by this.
Where do you get
You guys, I really want, Miss, I'm really interested in you because of your organizing energy. I want you to hear this. 26 years I've been studying organizing. I was homeless myself for a while. I just want to say, I've never seen the energy around homeless organizing that I'm seeing tonight. One gentleman, I don't see him right now, he was talking about the community, the belonging. He was really talking about home at the Benchlands. He said it's a home. There's belonging, there's community. This is so important. As far as I'm concerned, the thing I've learned by studying labor organizing, democracy organizing, everything I've ever studied, and I've heard other people say this, who were advocates for homeless people. We have to do it for ourselves. The speakers tonight have been awesome. Awesome. Organized, great thinking, passionate, representing others. There's so much great energy and relationship building, and that's what a union is about. So thank you for bringing it tonight. Thank you for bringing here. I am so inspired, and I'm so happy. Alicia Cool, a few years ago, when she was living in the trailer, she started coming to city council meetings. Look, she's one of the best organizers I've ever met in my life. And you guys, you all. So we have to do this together. We can't think that somebody else is going to do it for us. And that's what I'm seeing tonight, and it's really inspiring. Thank you so much.
So, now, how many people here want to have another meeting here next Monday?
Yeah.
And to go over what's happening. Okay, so we'll do it again next Monday. And seems like this is a good location. It's close to the Benchlands. We already have our meetings here. So we need volunteers in Food on Bombs. So you could actually come at 5 o'clock to the Food on Bombs meeting and volunteer to do the Food on Bombs. And then, but 6 o'clock next week, we'll do it again here. We all have the meals every day, as you know. Here's on Tuesday the 28th, which is a week from tomorrow, is the city council meeting where there's supposed to be, the city manager is supposed to be discussing what's going to happen and everything with the 3-year plan of the homeless camp plan. Tell us all the great new shelters they're going to open up in the next month. Stuff like that. I don't know what they're going to do. But anyway, when we wrote the city manager, Matt, he responded, they're going to put up fences right now all around San Lorenzo on the upper side. You can see the poles have already been put in. Elizabeth Smith claimed that because of there's some difficulty in getting enough fencing. I have no idea really what that means. That was quoted, I think, in Lookout or something last week. Maybe it was in Local.
What are the fences for? What good is that going to do?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a solution to homelessness. What's interesting is that it seemed like the last city managers had a relative that had a fence contract because he put fences everywhere. But this is like different fencing, so it's not the same family that's making all the money on fencing. Yeah, it might change their name. So these look pretty permanent fences that are happening in San Lorenzo Park right now. They put poles into the ground already. They're supposed to chain link that all up by Wednesday.
That's to keep people out.
That's to keep people out.
If you notice, those poles are about 20 feet away from another fence.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fence around a fence.
It's just anyone who's been money.
Yeah, so we got money for fences, but not money for housing. And that's why our slogan, Home's Not Tents, we're not advocating that everybody live in the Benchlands because it's paradise. We're advocating that everybody in the Benchlands get a place to live. We've had 30 years of preparing to house everybody in the Benchlands, and we haven't got around to it yet.
We don't even need each person to have a house. We just need to have services like be able to take a shower so you can go get a job, so you can get
get your own place to live.
Right.
You don't even have a place to go take a shower.
Yeah, we fought for like the whole time of the Benchlands to have a shower brought there. The city kept blocking us.
What's with them closing off that bathroom up there too?
Yeah, they say it's vandalism. They close all the bathrooms.
Yeah.
There was the first 100 days of the pandemic, we were the water for people at Food Not Bonds because they shut the bathrooms down.
Oh, they're giving away land to the developers.
They're giving, yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, land grabbed by developers, they're giving away, and they won't even follow the law passed Measure O that was supposed to provide 15 or 20% affordable housing, which is still pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's the other scam that's going on, is this affordable housing scam. Most of the time, they just like the Front Street project, to go to all the meetings for that, there's supposed to be like an X number of percent of affordable housing there. Well, they actually reduced that amount of affordable housing, and then they're now going to pay into a trust fund to avoid having to build affordable housing. So affordable housing, by the time any building gets built that's supposed to have affordable housing, then it's no longer affordable. And we were like evicted from where Taco Bell used to be instantly. And it turned out they were freaking out. They were going to tow our shipping container and everything because they were going to go to $1 million escrow in the morning. And you could go, we've been here for months. And you just find out about it like the day before you're going to $1 million escrow, and you're all angry that we're, there. Maybe you should come to Santa Cruz sometime if you're going to be building huge luxury condos in our town. And they had no idea what they're doing. Then the next day, then on the first of the year, the whole property transferred to somebody else, which are the people that are currently building the luxury condo. And there's a really good movie that I did show before the pandemic called Push, and it shows how that basically billions and billions, trillions of dollars is being dumped into luxury condo projects and those kind of projects just to do something with all the money we gave them at the beginning of the pandemic. We as Americans gave, it was the largest transfer of wealth in world history, right? And all of our resources went to Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock, and now they are just devouring our community. So I go to the national training for the National Union of the Homeless in Manhattan, and I have to walk past the Port Authority every day, and there's these 5 luxury condos, glass towers, 50 stories tall, that say luxury condos for sale on the top, but they're all fading and falling off the signs. And you can't get into the luxury condos because there's an entire tent city up against the wall on the sidewalk of all of these luxury condos. So instead of having people live in these 5 50-story buildings, they live in tents and boxes around the base of it. So then my host, Chris, who lives in Hell's Kitchen, goes, well, you think that's something, you should go to South Bronx. And I spent a lot of time in South Bronx over the years when that was, the victim of mafia insurance fires. And there's mile after mile of condominiums that's sitting empty. Every single homeless person in New York City could have a floor in a condo, the whole floor. But because of the economic and political system, they'd rather park their money in these luxury condo projects. Was very likely all these buildings on Front Street and Pacific and everything will just sit empty, largely empty for years and years while we're being shuttled around and there's never a larger homeless population living here in Santa Cruz. So next week, between now and next Monday, think of ideas, more ideas, concrete ideas. And it's just really a shame that the mayor did not show, that only one of the 2 mayor candidates showed.
He never called me back, never.
Never?
Never called me
No, I've talked to all those people personally, invited them here. We told them that 20 people voted to have them come hear the stories, because you cannot actually end up with a solution to this crisis if we are not included in that solution. Because there's a class blindness of the people in power who can't, they just imagine, oh, of course you can catch, what? Now, when do you have to catch van to go up to Overlook and Armory? What time of night? Does anybody know the hour?
7:30 or 8.
Yeah. 8:30 sometimes?
That's the last one.
Okay, so then if you're not, and then what happens when you,
3 days to miss, and then they take rope, they go through your chin and they take a light and call your name.
yeah, so, and then, so it's a, you hear this all the time. I mean, I ran into like maybe 8 or 9 people this afternoon in the Benchlands who told me how they were up there or they were at the Armory before the Armory closed and they just get thrown out, over the littlest tiny things. That's not stability. You can't improve your life by worried that you're going to, it's more stable in the Benchlands. This is like,
They're opening up the indoors next week, I was told.
The Armory's supposed to.
They're gonna open up for inside again. I talked to, the guy, right, Jeremy?
Jeremy Leonard? Yeah.
Jeremy next week.
And I would like to point out that there were 70 people up there when I was going up to the Armory and to what was called Golf Links at the time. And the Golf Links one was much better organized than the current one. It was like really a nightmare. But then so there were 70 people in the Armory. They ran out of money, right? Their contract was over, so those people went to the Benchlands, and now they're going to take those people, basically put them back up there. Well, that's not a net gain of 70 people getting housed. That's 70 people had a little caught in the Armory, then they didn't move to the Benchlands. Now they're moving back. That you can't say, oh wow, we've got these solutions because you just kicked 70 people out. Now you can put those 70 people back. So it is like whack-a-mole or whatever. Yeah.
Hey, but what about, let's say it's 150 beds in Champion orders goes into effect.
So that's the other thing is what
they're pushing for right now.
Yeah, they're trying to add up all these places to be 150 places, and then they can say, well, we're in compliance with Martin versus Boise, where this is the ordinance, and then they're going to. But if they go through. Realistically, if they go through with the next month putting people out, they're going to live in
Well, it's just Martin versus Boise does have holes in it, but it does also state that adequate shelter space is indoor. So these outdoor tent spaces are not cut in. I know the city might think that right there is not a.
And it's for every homeless person.
Yeah.
Can I give it to you afterwards?
Yeah. Exactly. It's not 500 people in the Benchland that have to have a bed. It's all 3,000 or 4,000 people living outside that have to have a bed.
And we all can agree that their accommodation is crap, right?
Right. You gotta be checked in when you go there to go through all your stuff. And if you have somebody there.
How many people here are over 21 years old?
You're not able to have a job because
you should have the legal right to be an autonomous human.
One thing I heard today, this young woman was talking, she said accountability. The reason why some of us are here today is because of accountability. We kept each other accountable.
Yeah.
When we do that, there's structure. There's at least a little bit of structure. The reason why the mayor and any political person, why would they come waste their time with a bunch of disobedient children? That's what they think.
Yeah.
Right? So as we keep ourselves accountable and we continue this momentum, guaranteed they're going to come and because they're going to be like, okay, well, hold on, what's going on here? We need to devise a plan, like you said, and a living plan.
Right.
But Apple donated $100 million towards homeless Santa Cruz, San Jose.
Yeah, you had something you wanted to say? Yeah.
I just wanted to, something that just came to my mind. The P.G. Smith shelter over there on River Street. Right? It's empty right now. All those buildings are empty.
Yeah.
They have, they got like six or seven triple wide mobile home or modular homes with six to seven rooms in each building are empty right now.
Why don't we occupy that? Why don't we just start occupying?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the time I got up there, my thoughts were kind of disorganized. I just wanted to say, what I was trying to get to is, there is so much power in this room tonight. And I've been examining city council up to the COVID for the previous about 6 or 7 years. I went to like 70% of the meetings. I went to the Homeless Action Partnership when they all wanted to come together to get the money, the grants, the professional people who are getting the money. So I just want you to know, this is different. What's happening here today is different. In my examining of the homeless issue, I have never seen so many articulate, interested, engaged, knowledgeable, such a fighting spirit. And let me tell you, that's what politics is about. If you don't show up at the city council meeting, and you don't sit outside, if you don't let your power be felt, it's not going to happen. They're not going to change. It's up to us to do it. So anyway, I just wanted to say, I love what you just said about accountability and coming together. This is how we're going to get the changes that we need.
And then, so we're gonna have to start, because poor Tom needs to go to bed, he's the one running this place.
Don't forget about the socks.
And we're gonna hand out socks and t-shirts, and Robert, one last thing.
The reason we want to put out the Benchlands is the city of Santa Cruz has a permit to pump the water out of the River Owen. So the thing is, they have to maintain the vegetation, the pollution out, and make sure it doesn't go into the ocean, or they lose their permit to pump the water from the river with the water department. No one knows that, but I do. That's why they're pushing to get everybody on the Benchlands.
Oh, okay.
They have a permit to pump water. They have no other rights. They have to maintain with the water department or the watershed on the pollution in the river and the garbage.
That's why they should have built 300 units of housing a long time ago. For people
Yeah.
who belong. That's fine.
Yeah.
They can give the land to developers, and they can give it to the people.
Why don't they penalize the countless
Don't forget
houses
to
up
fill one of these
in
out.
Boulder Creek and Ben Lomond and
Right,
stuff
but
with
the
their
city-
own-
Okay, so
What we gotta
so
do.
what, we're gonna, what was your last statement? We gotta go because poor Tom's gonna freak out. Okay.
So we have to wrap it up. Come up and get socks and shirts. And we invite everybody, same time, 6 p.m. next week here at that.
So we only have, large, extra large.
Okay, everybody. So that brings an end to the meeting here regarding the impending eviction from the Benchlands. We've heard a lot of great speakers and everything. I'm going to wrap up the stream now and talk to some people here, give out some information. Thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much for paying attention to this incredibly important issue, listening to these heart-rending stories. Really appreciate your support. I'm going to post this entire stream on YouTube later on, so follow me at Twitter. It's at Commander Exanon. Follow the Twitter, and I'll announce where it is posted on YouTube for future viewing. Share it with everybody. Thanks again so much, you guys, for all your support. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.